Welcome back, everyone. If this is your first time here, I'm Sonai, and I'm so glad to have you here and join us in the community. Today, we're going to talk about something close to my heart, and that is reading. As a writer, I love books, and I know how important it is to read. If it's really important to have knowledge beyond makeup and beauty and fashion and the luxury community and all of that. It's really good to know about a lot of things. And since I was a young girl, I really enjoyed reading. I would be the one who would rather be in the library reading books or reading magazines about people that I was interested in, about topics that I'm very interested in. When you read, you are doing yourself a tremendous service because you are broadening your mind beyond just superficial things. So let's get right into it. There are so many different books, so many topics and themes and interests that we have, right? And I want to share with you books that have really expanded my interest and really tapped into things that I really enjoy. So, me going on and on, let's just jump right into it. I think you're going to enjoy it. So, the first thing, the ground base, what keeps my life intact, keeps my mind grounded and on the right way, is I read my Bible. I read my Bible every day. I have the I have like the digital Bibles downloaded, but I like to read from a book sometimes. Yes, I do use the digital, but I like smelling books. I like books. And a lot of you are probably like me. You like reading actual books. I still like going to the library. I don't go very often, but every couple of years, I will go into a library that is probably about 15 minutes away from us. And it's really nice. And it takes me back to days when life was much simpler. And we would go in and we would look in the files and we would find a book and sit in a chair and just sit back and read. I really enjoy that. We need to slow down and read books, actual books, sometimes paper books. Now, as someone who has always loved literature and has been reading since I was a child, my mom is a big reader. She used to, I remember she would have magazines and she would have books on the side of her bed. I don't know if she really reads books like that anymore, but I know she reads her Bible every day. But she would read all of these books. And I did too. So I probably got that from her. Um, I'm going to start out big. Early in, there was a story that captivated me. I felt for this man. And so I just wanted to know more. And so I read, look at this. Look, I mean, seriously, I've had this book, oh my God, decades. Les Miserables. And it's something that people read in high school, but I think I first read this when I was in middle school. And I just felt for him, Jean Valjean, his life was so miserable and sad for a while. And if you have never read this, I highly suggest going back and reading books like this because it's not today's, gossip talking about things in our time. It's just really you lay back and it just helps you just disappear into a time where people didn't have much. Only a very few had the necessities. So it's really neat. I remember curling up in my bed at home just reading this. And so, yeah, this is a very important book, in my opinion. And I think a lot of people's opinion. And then moving on with that, this is probably my favorite author. And he and Maya Angelou got me into my poetry and gave me the courage to really start writing. And I was a kid, I'm talking grade school, and I started writing my little stories. But The Great Gatsby, you need to read this. I know there was a movie, Leonardo DiCaprio, and he did an excellent job in that film. Everybody, the whole cast. You need to read the story. You need to read the book because there's little details in here that was not in the movie. You can watch a movie about a book, but it's not the same. It doesn't touch you the same. When you read, it sinks in and it stays with you, which is why you have to be careful with what you read because it will stay with you. So, The Great Gatsby, definitely, it's like a necessity. It should have been a requirement because there's so much psychological in here. It tells a lot about some of us who are in the beauty and luxury community. It kind of tells a lot about, makes you think about why it is that you really like that and why we buy certain bags and want to enjoy certain experiences. It tells a lot, you know. When you watch that movie, you probably something in it resonated with you. So yeah. So The Great Gatsby, F. Scott Fitzgerald, definitely one to read. This book, I wanted to read this, and I was kind of afraid to read it because it's hard for me to read about struggle because being a black woman, I can relate to a lot of stories that my great great relatives told me when I was a little girl. Sojourner Truth, Ain't I a Woman? This is such a good book. It doesn't have, it's like 180 pages. Yeah, it really touched me. Um, you want to read this, and if you can, I know you can still get copies of these books that I'm sharing today. You may have to search for them, but it's it's just really informative, and I would suggest I'm going to show it close. Yeah, look at that. Look at her face. I love it. I love this book. Yeah, this story is it's something. She was a slave, but she was so strong. Now, this book, when I read it in middle school, I think my teachers thought I was kind of off for wanting to read it. They were like, "You're reading that already?" But Wuthering Heights, this was like high school required, I think, even for some people before they graduated. But I had heard of Emily Bronte. I'm such a nerd, and I'm proud of it. I love that about me. But I wanted to read this book, and you can see how old it is. And yeah, see, I has my maiden name in it. Property up. Um, I wanted to read this book. I wanted to know why it was so important. And I just wanted to read about, Heathcliff, and I remember seeing the movie, but I wanted to read the book because again, the movie doesn't always tell the stories. And I just wanted to read about it. So this is another one, another back, takes you back in the time. Emily Bronte. I would definitely suggest reading this, you guys. And it's like maybe have I'm gonna read a book, one book a quarter, 2 books a year. You don't have to sit there and be like, I read a book every week, or I certainly don't do that. Okay. But just read. It will just broaden your mind. It's like exercise for your mind. People need to read more. They really do. Now, this is scandalous. And what does this say? Oh my gosh. Just some old book receipt from when I was living in Wisconsin. It's so funny. I love the smoke. Look at that. See? The Scarlet Letter. Very good. As you see, I love old stories. And Nathaniel Hawthorne, I don't know if you saw a movie. Most of these books are turned into movies. When Demi Moore, she played Hester Prynne? Hester Prynne. Let me see. Hester Prynne. Oh my goodness, my brain. But this goes into really deep detail. And this is a really old edition too. But Scarlet Letter, I don't know if kids today know about these books. I really hope they do. It's not for everyone because she was she just had a child out of a wedlock. The way she was treated was so terrible for her. Like it was no forgiveness, and she was just treated horribly and was forced to walk around like she should forever be punished. You have not heard this book. I don't know how you have it, but you need to. Women need to read this book because sometimes we are dealt a different card by society, and I think it's important. Now, books like how to's. This book, How to Read a Poem, there is a certain art to even reading poetry. And I love when the character of Freddie Mercury in the movie Bohemian Rhapsody, and he was talking about the song to their record company executive, played by Mike Myers, and he said, "Poetry is for the listener." You know, poetry interpretation is for the reader, the way you read it. And when you read poems, and I suggest you even write poetry, and I'm sure most of you do, you write things down, you write down things that you are thinking about. You're writing poetry. And this is something that I really enjoyed. Um, and I it was real interesting. So, how to books are really good, really good. Now, Toni Morrison, Song of Solomon. I read this so long ago. And most of these I read ages ago, like even before I was married. Um, but it's really good. We need to read real books, not just scandalous, books about, people in Hollywood, actresses and what they're doing. They're showing us what they're doing on social media. I don't always read their books. I have one in here of a person that I was always really interested in her story. But I love reading books of history. Like I've read books about Jackie Kennedy and things like that. Autobiographies, as you will see, I love this book. Toni Morrison, Song of Solomon. Very good book. Very good. I just love her. Look at her face. Look at her eyes. Mhm. I'm sorry if you guys can see that ring light. I really apologize. Now, I heard about this book. I love autobiographies and memoirs. And this man's book, he was in prison and he wrote his story. And, he was a member of the LA Crips. He was one of the co founders. And I wanted to read this book. And I didn't know what reading it would do to me, but I took a chance and read it anyway. This book, Blue Rage, Black Redemption, Tookie Williams, Stanley Tookie Williams, but he was known as Tookie. This book just tells about, how he started the Crips. He was one of the founders. and what all of it meant for him and his downfall, you know. But then it also goes into his redemption and growth. And look, Crip Walks. It even talks about that people think they know about, they think that these gang members, some sadly some of them just that's what they did and they never learned anything. They never grew, right? But this book really did a lot, and it really showed me that people can have so much growth and they want to help others, even when they have committed some horrible acts and had to pay the price for it. They still wanted to help people. This is a really good book. I will always have it. I won't even pass it on to share because sometimes you loan people books, they never give them back. I have a couple of books that I miss in my collection because I loaned them to people and they never returned them. So the best I can do for you is just, suggest that you read these different books. And I love his hair, by the way, those braids. Uh, but yeah, there's just letters in here and just different things. Yeah, this is a really good one. Really good. I'm gonna flip back through it again now. Autobiographies, biographies. This man here, I don't even have to say much about it. Sidney Poitier. He was the ultimate Hollywood gentleman. I mean, Mr. Poitier is missed big time. And I read this, and I've always loved him. He was always so elegant, but there was so much strength, you know, this beautiful Haitian man, and he tells the story of his life. And I like knowing who people are behind the camera, like who they really are. And these are the types of books that, if you're gonna read books like this because it helped me have compassion. You know, the Bible, first and foremost, taught me about compassion and empathy and everything and being considerate of people. But these types of biographies teach me about compassion and about growth. And I highly suggest, I guess it was one of Oprah's book club picks. I know she loved Mr. Poitier, but that's not why I read it because Oprah said so. But my girl, my girl, Mariah. Mariah Carey. This is one of the few autobiographies of someone who is still living today that I found interesting. Because Mariah, she's my favorite, first of all. You probably hear me mention Mariah in almost every video I make in some way, a bag that I bought for her show, or just when we went to Las Vegas, I wore this, and we were going to see Mariah. I waited 30 years to see Mariah Carey, and I finally got to see her in February of this year, 2025. This story just goes back to when she was a child and the struggles that she had. She really did, you know. Can you imagine identity struggles? Kids telling you you're not black enough, you're not white, why do you look like this? What are you doing? You know? And she's had a voice of an angel. Her mother's voice was incredible, and she passed that to her daughter. But even beyond that, just the inner joys, the turmoils, just things she went through. I have so much respect for her. I just really love Mariah Carey. I am really a lamb. I love her. And you ever see this video, Mimi? I love you. Oh, I love her. But it's a really, really good book. And check it out. Really, really. Now, speaking of celebrities, I have um, this book, Nikki Sixx, The Heroine Diaries. I have always had a crush on Nikki Sixx when I was a teenager And Nikki Sixx was in a band, the band Motley Crue. I remember seeing him when I was in high school. You know, the rocker boys in class, and they would have the notebooks and they would have the magazines. And I was like, who's this guy? And he has that black football, like black, under his eyes. I was like, oh, he's so beautiful. And I just had a crush on him. And I went to see Motley Crue in 1987, 87 or 88 on the Dr. Feelgood tour, and I had really good seats. And I was just rocking out, and he laid eyes on me. He saw me in the audience, and I was so happy about that because I was like, man, I've waited since I was a teenager, and I was probably only 20 years old when I saw that tour. But yeah, his story is one of, it's so sad starting out. Uh, and then he just, came from like different types of abuse. The mental abuse is worse sometimes than physical, and it scars you really bad. And I kind of knew, there was a movie called that came out in recent years, The Dirt, about Motley Crue, but Nicky's story and the people who he was involved with through the years, in the early years when he was just strung out, and the people who aided in that, you'd be so surprised. Um, the book isn't for everybody, you know, because it's so real, and he just tells the truth. He tells his truth, and I love books like that. It just lets you know who the person really is, and I gained so much respect for him, and now he is just a different person as far as his growth. But he is the same Nikki Sixx. You know why he changed his name from Frank to Nikki Sixx, okay? And he wanted nothing to do with his family. It's just really such a good book, and he's written many, but this one I really enjoyed, and I enjoy biographies like that. As you can tell, um, I feel a little emotional talking about this book because everything he went through and everything he fought and he tried and he fell again and he tried and he fell again until finally enough was enough. You know, books like that can really help people. They can help people across the spectrum, truly. You don't have to be into Motley Crue. I know, I'm sure people read this book. They probably didn't even know who he was, but the title itself resonated with them. So, yeah, I don't have paper copy of that. Of course, I have it on digital, which is why I put the picture up. So, but yeah, that was one of those that I really, really enjoy. And I go back sometimes and I read certain parts when I'm about to go to sleep or whatever. I open my Kindle and I read different things. And yeah, he's somebody that I always wish the best to because he overcame some things, let me tell you. So good going, Nikki. This book here, Frederick Douglass, Narrative of the Life of an American Slave. Now, first of all, I love his hair. I always have. He's so dignified and everything. But this book, it is so important. And, these types of books are not, I read books about autobiographies of people of different races, but these really touch my heart, of course. And I just wanted to read it. And I came across it at like a thrift store, and I was like, no way, let me get this book right here. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. It tells a lot about history. I was not into history in high school. I remember being like just kind of bored with it. But American authors class, now that I aced. You could have put a blindfold on me and stuff cotton in my ears, and I would have gotten A+ on my book reports because I just always loved writing and literature and so forth. And yeah, I have a different copy of The Great Gatsby, but reading different books is so it's good for the soul. It makes you feel good, it makes you smile, it makes you laugh and cry, and gives you so much knowledge on a lot of things. And it helps you in conversation. You can have conversations about something. The other night I was reading this book and I really love how such and such said this. And that's impressive because it shows that you read, you're not just mindlessly scrolling through Instagram and Facebook trying to see what other people are talking about, making up things that aren't necessarily true, but it shows that you are a broad thinker. You are interested in other people, truly, people who really mattered for a lot. Not saying that, people today don't matter, but you get what I'm saying. I shouldn't have to explain that. So, yeah, reading is not just fundamental, it's just really important. We need to read more so we know a lot about a lot, okay? Because you can help someone when you read and you lock that knowledge in, you can help someone else because you're versed on it and you know what you're talking about. You're not just making up something off the top of your head. You want to have a broad interest that you have broad knowledge. And that's elegant. That's classy and very impressive. These are my first two books. The first one, The Mulholland Diaries, and then part two to that, The Hollywood Girl. And books are so important to me. They are based on a lot of real life experiences that I've had, people that I have known and may still know. And they've been enjoyed by readers. I've even had a couple of celebrities ask me, who are these books about? Well, I'm like, my answer was, it's not about you, don't worry. And they're not really about one particular person, just experiences that I have had. So check them out, The Mulholland Diaries and The Hollywood Girl. I think they're fun reads. So, yes, I am plugging my own books, but that's what you should do. People are interested in the lives of others, and today in our celebrity obsessed world, people really want to know what it's like. What do celebrities really go through? What are they like off screen, off stage? What are the turmoils? And a lot of times, you know, I wouldn't trade places with these people for all of the money in the world because they have lots of money. There's a lot of misery. And I just felt compelled to write these stories because, for one, they're interesting and not many people get to witness things like this. And I wrote them in a way that's really fun and, glamorous. But then there's the sadness um, and then also the redemption, of course. Like the women in my stories, they fight for life and they realize that having all of the glamour and the money is not what life's all about. And so, um, yeah, you can grab a copy. You can Google me and you'll find those books. But yeah, I really enjoy books, books, and I have them stacked up in my closet. I like to see my books. I don't tuck them away because I'm so dimensional, and you want to be that girl who is so multifaceted, very multifaceted. You have different sides of you. Yeah, she's beautiful, she's smart, she's well read. She can come head to head with anyone talking about a book or a certain topic. You don't want to just be superficial, and reading is a very important and necessary way of growth. So thank you guys for joining me today. I enjoyed this so much, and I hope you did too. And wherever you are in the world, you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, and we will see you on the next one. Take care and be safe. Bye.